Alright, so this video is going to be another DIY video, and this is also going to be a response to a Reddit post that I saw on the Battle Jacket subreddit. I'll put a screenshot up now, and as you can see I've got the spooky night mode on, but getting on with things, what I have here is a piece of white fabric. It's going to be t-shirt material, so cotton, not denim, like was described in the post, but I think that's okay because underneath it is an image of the subject matter of this, I guess, patch you could call it, which is the shitfucker logo. You can sort of see it there. I know it looks like a swastika, but it in fact isn't. And you'll see that once I get on with tracing it, which you'll see in a second. So looking at it now, I finished the first part of the outline, and it's really far from perfect. This is really a rough outline. That's okay because as I start to cut it, I will more or less cut it using the original image as a guide. So I'm going to take off this layer of the masking tape, remove the piece of cotton, and start cutting. Now, before I get into the cutting part, I decided to reinforce the t-shirt fabric with some tape because one concern that was raised regarding this method is that pretty much any fabric is going to fray, and when you're cutting such small shapes out, the fraying could actually seriously damage the image, as opposed to on patches where its image is painted onto a wider field or something, where you're just going to get a little bit of fraying at the edge. So I'm also going to deal with this by painting over the entire thing once I'm done. This will also cover up the pencil lines. So at this point I've finished cutting it out, and it looks right, almost, sort of. I mean, it kind of lines up, but you can definitely tell it's been warped by, I think the t-shirt fabric probably got stretched when I was taping it down, which, since that wouldn't really happen with denim, I'm not going to count it against the post I'm responding to's original premise. So I think as a way to compare this method to my normal method, I'm going to just cut this logo out and make a patch using paint and black denim, and just compare the two products and see how they hold up next to one another. So now I've got the stencil and everything set up. I'm about to start painting, and I will add that these right here, the lines that'll make the F, those are probably going to be some of the more difficult things I've worked with a stencil, using paint at least, and that is sort of endearing me slightly towards this method. Although I'll add in the original post, I mean, you'll probably have seen that by now because you've seen it, you've read it, but the individual that posted it was talking about trying to do letters, which I actually tried to do letters initially for a video, and I got pretty much to about where I had to cut them out and butchered them to a point where I couldn't just lower my standards and live with it. So I will say, as far as letters go, this method was sort of difficult enough to where I had to stop and re-evaluate and end up going with this logo. So with that, I'm going to paint it, and you'll see what it looks like after that. Okay, so after I've painted it and removed the stencil, I found that it's actually turned out pretty well. The simplicity of the shape allowed me to get a really solid coat of paint on there. It is actually better than a lot of the other patches I've made in the past. The only concern is I'll have to touch this area up, as well as up here, because there's a bit of, well, it's not actually paint that's spilled over. I've found that a lot of this extra color here is actually due to sort of fragments of the paper that got saturated, clung onto the paper, or the fabric, I mean, and left there and sort of tore off once I removed the paper. So once it dries, it should be fairly easy to remove. All in all, I'm liking my method better than this idea, especially since the original post had to do with letters, and those are more complicated than this in pretty much every case, unless they're going to be really large letters, and in like a blocky font, like a really big like I Hate God logo, perhaps. However, they are attempting to use white denim, so that would, I think, make it easier for them. So all told, I would only use the cutting out individual letters, I guess we'll call it method, on fairly rare occasions, if ever. So those are my thoughts on that method and that Reddit post. That's going to be all for this video. Check out some of my other videos too. They're not just DIY topics. That's going to be all for this, and we'll see you in the next one.